I'm Daniel.
I'm Rex, and he's struggling with something.
I'm just tired.
Really? I'm quite refreshed.
Yeah, are you?
I haven't seen you in a few days, and I've never felt better. No, honestly though, having, because you were busy.
Yeah.
But having that little bit of breathing room, like the storyline stuff and some shenanigans stuff.
So you...
Like, I was making myself laugh on the drive into work.
About ideas?
About ideas. Yeah, I had to pull over and write down some notes. It's super good.
Oh, no.
It's super good. Okay, so whiskey today. What is this?
So we have a whiskey that was donated, two people donated the same bottle.
Yeah.
So one of them was Dallas Stoltz.
Dallas Stoltz, you magnificent bastard.
Fight.
And the other was Bill Parrott.
Hold on, I'm gonna let Dallas, you gotta let it settle, you gotta let the dust settle. You gotta fully absorb the magnificence. Bill Parrott? Bill Parrott, you magnificent bastard!
Fight.
All right, so that gives us a backup.
Yes, okay. Private stock, J. Rieger.
J. Rieger. So this is, it's an interesting story.
Okay.
The Rieger family has this big whiskey history. As a matter of fact, they predate Prohibition and whiskey, and I'm not going to go into all the details of the story. I'm just opening this thing up. But they were a big deal. At one point, even when they were, they've been outlawed, and he had all these stocks of whiskey in his distillery, J. Rieger.
Yeah.
He got the judge to agree that he could simply transport the whiskey from his business to his home as private stock. So he moved all the whiskey from the distillery to his house.
Sweetie, we need the dining room.
That's right. So talk about a vault or a stash. Anyway, they eventually went out of business.
Brown sugar and honey dominates that nose for me.
Yeah. This is perfumey sweet. I even get some darker fruit notes I don't normally get. I'll grab this thing over here.
Those two main things, I'll give it another minute to settle. Those are the two things that are just so present. I don't think I can even begin to get a glimmer of anything beyond that on the nose. You said dark fruit, man.
There's a little bit of clove. That's what I was looking for.
Clove?
Cloves.
Okay, all right.
Like almost actual clove cigarettes. Because now clove cigarettes are made with a cigar leaf wrapper instead of a paper wrapper.
Okay.
To let them get around the cigarette laws. Because now it's a cigar.
Right.
It's amazing.
It's really funny.
It's a really amazing story, actually.
It's really funny.
Okay, I'm going to take a sip.
Yeah. So this is breakfast cereal sweet. Like
Yeah.
Kids breakfast cereal sweet on the nose. That amount of, you open the box and the, the sugar.
Oh, yeah, and the taste, pure cinnamon. And now you said breakfast cereal, all I can think of is Honey Nut Cheerios.
Right.
And I'm getting Honey Nut Cheerios with cinnamon on it in the taste.
I haven't tasted yet.
And it's a little bit hot.
I was trying to find anything beyond that brown sugar
52
and honey, and finally I've acclimated to those two elements, and I'm finding a little bit of that barrel note behind those things.
These are aged in wine casks.
Okay.
52.5%. It's hot. That's why it feels hot.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed wine on the nose. I just would have been, pretty maybe that's the dark fruit.
That's why it's sweeter than normal, I think.
Okay. Maybe,
I really love this.
Maybe that was the dark fruit you were finding.
Yeah. Okay, so this was essentially what happened was there was a bartender in Kansas City named Ryan Mabey.
Okay.
Who opened a bar in the basement of the Rieger Hotel building, because the Rieger name is a big famous name in Kansas City.
Sure.
And he started researching and discovered all this history with J. Rieger.
Yeah.
And so he and a partner open up a restaurant.
Uh-huh.
And then they end up meeting Andy Rieger, a relative of the original J. Rieger.
Oh.
And they realized their dream of funding and building a whiskey distillery.
Yeah.
And it's overseen by Dave Pickerell.
Oh, the guy from so many different things.
This is one of his projects.
Yeah, he did Blackened with Metallica. Mm-hmm. He did Whistle Pig. He did
so many.
Yeah.
So many. So they're sourcing whiskey.
Yeah.
Right. Then they're aging it.
Right.
But they're starting to distill their own stuff too.
So this is this is weird because it's not like bad weird. So I'm getting a lot of very classic bourbon flavors, but I'm getting on the finish this incredible saturated oily sweetness with this really solid foundation of dry barrel.
I'm not getting that.
I'm finding this. If I think about, well, where are the dry elements on here, and I try and push the sweet stuff, which is dominant. The sweet stuff is dominant. Push the sweet stuff out of my head. Think, gosh, man, if I'm just focused on the non-sweet, drier barrel, oaky kind of bitter notes, like, yeah, they're definitely there. The sweet things are going to grab your attention. They're going to basically be the thing that's going to be the most obvious. But is there anything under the sweetness? It's like, yeah, man. There's
barrel.
Yeah, there's a dry barrel.
It's just so coated in sugar.
Yeah.
So this is something that's real, which is regularly, we'll be like, well, there's a lot of classic bourbon in bourbon.
Cherry. Oh, I'm getting cherry now.
So when you're giving tasting notes on something, it can become a habit to focus only on things that make it different.
Yeah.
And leave out the things that are common. And
right.
So you then end up reviewing a whiskey talking only about 20% of its flavor.
Right.
Because you sort of have assumed
right.
the other 80% isn't worth talking about because it's the same thing you always say.
Right.
And so a running joke, and the reason we get a running joke is like, well, they call every bourbon classic bourbon.
Right.
It's like, no, what we're trying to do is we're trying to establish that, yes, this is in the right category.
Right.
Yes, it has all the things you would expect from a bourbon.
Right.
Now let's talk about
the things that make
the variances.
The thing that makes it different.
Yes,
right.
And that's important.
Well,
now,
I will go so far as to say that if there's reviewers that don't give a nod to those fairly standard notes, they're talking about all the unique exotic things, they're just trying to put on a show. They're not really being, as plain spoken and clear about what's actually going on in this bottle. And then it's really easy to get this impression that, man, there's so many exotic things going on in there. It's like, no, it's like the 20% that's going to be unique. The 80%, just like the oak and the brown sugar and the cherry and the apple.
it's got to start with the base of something.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're going to give a nod to that stuff if it's there, and it's going to sound like a lot of categories are very similar. But you know what? After 1,000+ whiskeys,
they are.
Categories are very similar.
I found the same problems when I was looking for a new car. I started looking at these car reviews of review channels.
Yeah.
And I saw these guys I actually kind of enjoyed watching.
Yeah.
Review these two cars as like polar opposite ends of the car spectrum. They could not be more different.
Right.
I test drove both those cars. I was like, dude, this is the same car. The difference in this car is on a spectrum like this on a pie chart.
Right.
And that's all they focused on for a 45-minute chunk of a video.
Sure.
And it was like, guys, you're losing perspective. If I'm looking for a style of car, these are both it, and they're both mostly the same.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to our comparison whiskey, which was a gift from Balcones.
Okay. All right. So
They gave this to us.
All right. Thanks. Balcones.
Awkward pause over. Okay. This is cool, man. I've never tried this.
And speaking of, after trying hundreds, 1,000+ whiskeys, and then it's really easy to get past just the standard notes, the classic notes that are there. The vast majority of the time, there's a whiskey in that category. Mm-hmm. The whiskey most recently that I was deeply excited about because it was so thoroughly 100% its own animal. You know it, the Westland Gariana.
Mm-hmm. Gariana. Bam. Now this
so unique. Yeah.
Balcones is famous among Balcones fans for a couple of things.
Right.
One, high proof whiskey.
Okay. Oh, so good you pulled these two out because these are both bourbons.
Yeah.
Okay. We talked about there's a little bourbons that have a lot of classic notes, and it's easy to, just skimp over the classic stuff and really focus on the things that make it different. It makes it seem like the whiskey is a very different thing. This bourbon though, on the nose, I can tell you, this is an outlier bourbon.
Right.
Yeah.
But what they're famous for is typically high proof.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
And variances.
Yeah.
So what they decided to do was create a product that they could scale out to everybody at a lower proof.
Okay, what is it?
So it's ringing in at 46%.
Right on.
Right? Like 10% lower than a lot of the products.
What they usually do.
And it's a pot still bourbon. Just a classic. No weird names. None of the blue corn.
Sure.
I mean, they have it. They're using roasted corn,
Right.
blue corn, Texas wheat.
Okay.
It's a wheated bourbon.
So on paper, if you were describing this to me,
it's actually a 4-grain bourbon.
on paper, if you were describing this to me, they want to proof it down, they want to scale it up, they want a classic bourbon. I would be nervous. If I'm looking at this on paper. It's like, oh,
Don't you do you, man.
don't lose the special Balcones mojo.
But they didn't.
But on the nose, man, this is the Balcones.
It's still Balcones.
Savory.
Yep.
And
Yeah, it's meaty.
It
The
is.
best way for me to describe, like, when I found Balcones whiskey, I pick it up, I'm like, oh, meaty. It's not just the sweet notes of things, it's this deep, rich, proteiny kind of
now
note.
it's not going to be Isla Peat smoky meatiness.
No. I actually mean like a honey glazed
Yeah.
meat.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you get ham and it's honey glazed,
Uh-huh.
but so you've got, but you really smell with honey glazed ham is honey.
Yeah.
And then there's that deep richness behind it.
And then and again, it sounds like I'm describing Scotch, but I'm not. There is a bit of earthiness there, but it's not a smoky peat earth. It is like a sweet and savory meaty, and then a little bit of...
To me, this is oil.
Yeah, well, but that's the pot still, man.
Yeah,
That's the pot
oil and honey glaze.
Yeah. And then...
Little bit of like a grassy kind of note.
yeah, that's what I kind of mean. It's like the kind of like a yard smell.
And I think the richness is I'm getting is wood, the Texas wood impact.
Okay. So everything on the nose. Everything on the nose.
A little oaky pepper.
Little oaky pepper. And I'm going to say this. If you are a Balcones fan through and through, and you've had all of their offerings up to date, the flavors are still there, but the Balcones, that damn near cast strength, or cast strength, depending on what they're bottling, that, it's not going to punch you in the mouth, but you don't get a watered down whiskey. You get all of those really nice flavors that we were talking about on the nose, but I can tell this is dialed down a bit, and it's going to be much more accessible and friendly for people that don't consider themselves, like serious whiskey drinkers. They want highest proof possible. So I can tell this is definitely a lower proof.
I get candied almonds.
From the hotness, but the flavor is still, it's very, very...
This is a gateway drug to Balcones.
Yeah, the flavor is still very, very present, and I think at 46... Yeah.
I think
I'm
when you
glad
hand this
they
to
did-
somebody,
I'm
you should say,
glad they didn't take it to lower.
yeah, I think when you hand this to somebody, you should say, the first one's free.
You got it in
Balcones. Hey, man, I really need some Balcones. Candied almonds
Candied almonds. Okay. All right. Hold on.
on the palate, not on the nose. I can't find that in the nose. I tasted it, and then it was gone, and it left that sort of waxy nut aftertaste.
I don't know. Almonds or walnuts? I could be sold on candied walnuts.
I think you're right. I think maybe more walnuts than almonds. I'm just thinking candied nuts, and the word almond is what popped into my head.
Yeah. So I would be a lot more comfortable if somebody's like new to whiskey and they're like, "Oh man, Texas whiskey, tell me all about it." I was like, "Well, Balcones, and you got
Try
the
this.
Andalusian, you got the Iron, you got some amazing options." But if I knew if they're new to whiskey, there's a lot of caveats I have to be throwing out there.
Like, remember barrel,
Very high
hot,
proof.
and-
But at 46%, I just need to give a nod to the fact now this isn't quite, Crown Royal proof. This is, it's got a little bit more higher percentage of alcohol, so just brace yourself. But it's not like, dude, sit down, because I'm going to put some cast strength down your throat.
Put your
need to
boots
be
back
prepared.
on. Yeah, I now think that for introducing people to Balcones, you've got this one
Yeah.
for the bourbon lovers, and you've got the Mirador used oak malt for the Scotch lovers.
Right.
And they're both just into two different lines of whiskey thought.
Darian Wethington. I can't believe Jason Murphy is on the Whiskey Vault. Yeah.
I had to put that in there. I saw that and I thought, that's well played.
Funny.
Not even a smiley face.
You're funny.
Just a straight up sentence.
You're a funny person there. Do you guys just ever mix whiskey together just to see what it tastes like? All
mean-
the time.
You mean like this?
all the time? If you haven't seen How to Mooch the $7,000 Whiskey, we'll link it up here. There's a little bit of shenanigans going on there.
Yeah.
Mixing things.
Oh, hey. Try that. That's a really interesting mix.
Whoa, the butterscotch just leapt out of the glass.
I know.
Wow.
Wow. See, this is
great.
this is why I love blending things.
Right.
Blending is one of my favorite things in the world.
Right. So, I saw a post.
That was a happy accident.
I saw a post. Somebody was just, they're busting balls. They said, blended whiskey tastes like ass. Change my mind. Like, dude. Either you're trilling at a respectable level, respectable, not top tier, right? But you're putting in a good effort, or you are clueless. Wait, am I shitting on him for his whiskey preferences? I think I just became a snob. It was a trap. It was a trap. All right, you're to fighting, stealing, and drinking.
If you fight, may you fight for a friend.
You steal, may you steal a lover's heart.
And if you drink, may you drink with us.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with us in the Whiskey Vault. Don't forget to throw in a like, hit that subscribe button on the bottom right, and drop a question or comment down below.